Ejiro pinched herself to be sure that she was indeed in the land of the living like they have said, and yes, she could tell that she was. Then, just then, Ejiro remembered the story her grandmother had told her about the spirits of dead people coming back to life when they die untimely, and also if they left loved ones behind and wants to reunite with these loved ones. She also remembered that her grandmother told her that such reincarnated dead spirits may not remember who they are, and even if they do, they live in. Ejiro opened her eyes, and the sight of the person she saw staring at her shocked her. In a surprised and shocked state, but somehow happy, Ejiro smiled faintly. She couldn't believe that she was now with her dead husband. "My dear Ochuko, I couldn't live without you. There was no way I could continue living without you, and that is why I drowned myself in the river, so I could die also and be with you. I am happy that we are finally together again," Ejiro said faintly to the man who is sitting beside her and staring at her. The man looked at Ejiro with a confused expression. He found it funny that Ejiro referred to him as Ochuko, but his name wasn't Ochuko. His name was Efetobori, and he's not dead, but had only saved Ejiro from drowning earlier that morning. Early that morning, just few hours before dawn, Efetobori, who is a local fisherman, was in his canoe in the river trying to fish as usual when he saw a woman from afar off who walked slowly into the river and to the middle and deepest part of the river until she got drowned. Right from when he had seen her and had realized that she was trying to drown herself, Efetobori kept shouting and calling on the woman to stop, but the woman, like someone in a trance, paid no attention and continued walking towards the middle of the river until she got to the part where she could no longer stand, and then she got drowned. Meanwhile, Efetobori, from the time he saw the woman, had abandoned his fishing nets and rowed his canoe as fast as he could towards the woman as he kept calling out to her to stop. But before he could get close enough to stop the woman, she had slipped and drowned, and so he dived into the river and rescued her. Luckily, he was able to and swam to shore carrying her in his arms. He tried to resuscitate her by getting her to vomit out the water that she had taken in as a result of her being drowned. After that, he noticed that she opened her eyes a little but faintly, and her breathing was also now normal. But then, she closed her eyes again and slipped into unconsciousness. That was when Efetobori took her to his house so she could properly be treated. Luckily for Efetobori, his mother is a traditional healer, so he didn't have to start looking for someone else who would treat the woman. Whilst his mother treated Ejiro and made sure that she was stable, Efetobori narrated the whole scenario and how he found Ejiro to his mother. And so, later that day, after about 1 hour after he had brought her home, Efetobori was sitting and staring at Ejiro, wondering why she had tried to get herself drowned, when Ejiro opened her eyes and had referred to him as Ochuko. But after hearing the words she said immediately she woke up, Efetobori could gather that she must be going through the trauma of losing a loved one, and so I thought it was best to take her own life also. "My love, I have missed you so much. Please come closer and hold me. I want to be in your arms again," Ejiro said, stretching out her hands and beckoning on Efetobori to hold her. "Don't stress. For now, you need to relax and get a proper rest. We can talk about the incident at the river later," Efetobori said and tried to walk out of the room. "Please, Ochuko, don't leave me again, please," Ejiro cried and screamed as Efetobori was about to leave the room. Efetobori stopped and rushed to hold her to calm her down. His mother also rushed in after hearing Ejiro scream. To make her relax and get a proper rest, Ifetobori's mother gave her a herbal concoction to put her to sleep. She keeps referring to me as Ochuku, Ifetobori told his mother after she had put Ejiro to sleep. Don't worry, she is still hallucinating, Ifetobori's mother replied. But Ejiro was not hallucinating because Ifetobori looks exactly like Ejiro's late husband Ochuku, who had died 7 months ago. And she actually believes that she is dead and is in the land of the dead with her dead husband. It was the next morning when she woke up that she realized that she was not dead, as she woke up with a headache and to the smell of fresh banga soup on fire. Where am I? Ejiro asked Ifetobori's mother, who is stirring the pot of banga soup she is making. Ifetobori's mother told her that she tried to drown herself the previous day and her son found her and brought her to their house. Ejiro sighed, remembering that she had wanted to actually take her life because she could no longer bear the loss of her husband. Her late husband, whose name was Ochuku, died 7 months ago, but the pain is still fresh in Ejiro's heart. Ejiro and Ochuku met when Ochuku had moved to their village to carry out a government project. He was a young contractor from the city of Port Harcourt who was working on the community health center building projects in Ejiro's village. He met Ejiro and they fell in love with each other. They got married a year later, but their marriage only lasted for 5 months as Ochuku lost his life one evening after drowning in the river. Ejiro and Ochuku were taking a walk by the river bank one evening, enjoying the beauty of nature and the sweet fresh air from the river when a storm came. They tried to run and seek shelter, but Ochuku lost his balance and slipped into the river, which water had now moved a little forward as a result of the wave. Ochuku could only swim a little and was not so good, and so he drowned and lost his life. Though some men who were also at the river bank at the time tried to save him, but they could not because of the raging storm, as they also only managed to save their lives. Ejiro also tried to get into the river and save her husband when she saw that he was drowning, but other women around held and prevented her from going because it was not safe in that situation. Oshuko's lifeless body was found floating on top of the water the next day, and since then, Ejiro had been going to the river and attempting to commit suicide. But there were always people around who always stopped her. Ejiro had an auntie whose name is Tejiri. Auntie Tejiri, as Ejiro calls her, lived in another village with her husband where there is no river. So, everyone in Ejiro's family agreed that Auntie Tejiri takes Ejiro with her to her place, believing that Ejiro would heal when she sees no river. But after 2 weeks of staying with Auntie Tejiri, Ejiro was still no better, and one night, when Auntie Tejiri and her husband were deeply and fast asleep, Ejiro sneaked out of the house and began a journey to look for a river where she could drown herself so she could die and meet her husband. She traveled for long hours throughout the night, and when it was morning and almost dawn, Ejiro finally arrived at a village where she found a river. It was this river she attempted to drown herself again when Ifetobori found and rescued her. Ejiro sighed again, jerking back to reality and remembering that she had seen the face of her late husband and he was speaking to her whilst she was barely unconscious the previous day. So, it was all a dream and it was all in my head when I thought I was dead and that I was with my husband Ochuku and he was speaking to me, Ejiro said in her heart. My son who rescued you has gone for his usual morning fishing, but he will be back soon. Have some food. I don't know if you are from around these parts and if you know banga soup and starch swallow, but trust me, you will enjoy it, Ifetobori's mother said, stretching out a bowl of soup and starch swallow to Ejiro. Ejiro let out a faint smile and said that she knows banga soup and starch, but told the woman whose son had rescued her and was now offering her a meal that she had no appetite and would not eat. But Ifetobori's mother insisted. Reluctantly, Ejiro accepted the food and decided to eat a little. While she ate, she narrated the sad incident of her husband's death after Ifetobori's mother inquired from her as to why she had wanted to take her own life. After hearing Ejiro's sad story, Ifetobori's mother was giving her some words of consolation when Ifetobori arrived from his fishing and walked into the kitchen. Immediately Ifetobori walked in, the morsel of food in Ejiro's hand fell off as she opened her mouth wide and stared at Ifetobori in shock. This is because she had thought that she was dreaming and was hallucinating when she thought that she had seen her husband while she was semi-unconscious the previous day. But right now, the person who had just walked in and who is standing before her is actually her husband. Ochuko, Ejiro called. "I am not Ochuko. My name is Ifetobori," Ifetobori replied. "Ochuko, it is I, Ejiro, your wife and your love. Don't you recognize me?" Ejiro said, touching Ifetobori. But Ifetobori and his mother stopped her and insisted that Ifetobori was not Ochuko. Now, the whole thing happening made Ejiro confused. The man standing right before her was an exact replica of her late husband Ochuko. Same look, same height, and even the same voice. Her late husband Ochuko was an only son. He had taken her to his home and family in Port Harcourt before and after they got married, and she had met every member of his family. So, there was no how she could think that he was a twin. "Are you a twin?" Ejiro asked Ifetobori out of confusion and in a bid to stop the confusion in her head. But Ifetobori and his mother told her that Ifetobori was no twin but was also an only child. "Are you sure that I am not dead and that I am in the land of the living?" Ejiro asked again. "This is Opuama land and it is the land of the living," Ifetobori and his mother replied. Ejiro pinched herself to be sure that she was indeed in the land of the living like they have said, and yes, she could tell that she was. Just then, Ejiro remembered the story her grandmother had told her about the spirits of dead people coming back to life when they die untimely, and also if they left loved ones behind, and wants to reunite with these loved ones, but from a distance. According to her grandmother, it is a form of reincarnation, and most times they appear in a different place and take a different name and a different family. Ejiro had never taken this story seriously as she considered it a mere myth. But now, she could not help but wonder if this was true and if her late husband may probably have reincarnated. She also remembered that her grandmother told her that such reincarnated dead spirits may not remember who they are, and even if they do, they live in denial. According to her grandmother, such spirits return back to the land of the dead if someone recognizes them in a new place, if and where they do not want to be recognized. Ejiro didn't know how to feel or react, but she felt only one thing at that time, which is to continue seeing the face of her late husband, be it real or not, or be it a spirit. And so, for fear of angering him and risk losing him again the second time if he chooses to return back to the land of the dead, Ejiro decided that she was going to stop insisting that he was Ochuko and call him Ifetobori, the new name which he had now chosen, as all she wants is to just be with him again, irrespective of what he is called. "I am sorry, Ifetobori. I just thought that you looked a little like my late husband. I won't refer to you as Ochuko again," Ejiro said to Ifetobori. Ifetobori and his mother told her that they understand that she was going through a tough time and do not take any offense. A week later, when Ejiro was stronger, Ifetobori and his mother offered to take Ejiro back home and to her village, but Ejiro begged that she was not ready to go back home because it would remind her of her loss, and so they let her stay more. But the actual truth was that Ejiro was not ready to leave Ifetobori's side. Now, Ifetobori had suffered a bad heartbreak from his ex-fiancé who'd left him for another man in another town. But having Ejiro around and seeing how she became nice and how she cared for him, he gradually fell in love with her. He loved her meals, how softly she spoke, how she laughs and makes him laugh also. Moreover, she's also a very beautiful woman, and he found himself falling deeply in love with her. After many months, one day, Ifetobori asked Ejiro to marry him, and she accepted. His mother was also happy about their union, as she had also grown to love Ejiro. However, whenever they raised the issue of going to Ejiro's village to officially meet her family and asked for her hand in marriage, as it should be done according to their custom, Ejiro kept saying that she was not ready to go back home yet. This bothered Ifetobori and his mother, but Ifetobori loves Ejiro so much and would not want to pressure her into doing what she's not ready to do. Well, the reason Ejiro was not ready to go back to her village and why she's scared too is because she still sees Ifetobori as her late husband's ghost or reincarnate, and fears that he may recognize the village which she had died and would disappear and leave her if he gets there. Meanwhile, for months, Auntie Tejiri and other members of Ejiro's family have been searching for Ejiro since the day she left. Some of them even feared that she may have succeeded in drowning herself and may probably be dead by now. However, one day, a woman called Ogenemaru saw Ejiro in the fish markets. Ogenemaru was Auntie Tejiri's friend and neighbor, and she knows Ejiro and her story. Ejiro was together with Ifetobori in the fish market helping him sell his fish when Ogenemaru saw Ejiro. She had also come to Opoama village to greet her younger sister who just delivered a baby, and was in the fish market to buy some fish which she intends to use to make some pepper soup when she saw Ejiro. She went to Ejiro and tried speaking to her, but Ejiro pretended and denied knowing her. Meanwhile, Ogenemaru, being just Auntie Tejiri's neighbor and who was never in Ejiro's village, did not know what Ejiro's late husband Ochuku looked like. So, she didn't realize that Ifetobori was Ochuko's look-alike. Ifetobori suspected that Ejiro was pretending that she did not know Ogenemaru, and so, few minutes after Ogenemaru left his stand, he lied that he wanted to go pick up something and ran after Ogenemaru to speak to her about Ejiro. After speaking, they agreed that she was going to bring Auntie Tejiri with her for confirmation. Ifetobori gave Auntie Ogenemaru the address and description to his house. And so 4 days later, Auntie Ogenemaru returned with Auntie Tejiri and 2 other family members. Just like Ejiro, Auntie Tejiri and the other family members were shocked to see someone who looks exactly like Ochuku. And like Ejiro, they were also confused. With the arrival of Auntie Tejiri and the other members of Ejiro's family, the news about Ifetobori being an exact replica of Ejiro's late husband spread within Ifetobori's neighborhood. And that was when a man who was called Olorogun came forth with a revelation. Olorogun is Ifetobori's uncle. He is Ifetobori's late father's older brother. Olorogun's wife is also late, but when she was alive, she was a midwife who helped Ifetobori's mother deliver her baby. Many years ago, Olorogun had a friend from Port Harcourt who found out that he was impotent and could not impregnate his wife. He confided in Olorogun as his friend and asked Olorogun and his wife to help him get a baby, and offered them a huge amount of money. Together, the two men, with the help of Olorogun's wife, who is a midwife, gave the man's wife a concoction that made her tummy grow big gradually and made her believe she was pregnant. Before then, Olorogun's wife, who was also taking care of Ifetobori's mother, who was pregnant with Ifetobori at the time, had known that Ifetobori's mother was pregnant with twin babies, but she did not tell her because of her plan. She also continued giving the wife of her husband's friend the concoction every time she came to her for the traditional antenatal treatment. The concoction which she gave her made the woman look pregnant and made her tummy increased every month. And during the time Ifetobori's mother delivered her babies, Olorogun's wife quickly covered the second baby's mouth when it came out and was fast in handing over the baby to her husband through the window, who took the baby to another room at the other end of the compound. She succeeded in making Ifetobori's mother believe that it was the baby's placenta and the residue from the childbirth that came out the second time, and that it was not a baby. Why would I keep your baby from you if you had a second one? What reason do I have to do so? Don't I have children of my own? She said to Ifetobori's mother. And because Ifetobori's mother was semi-unconscious at the time and did not hear the second baby cry, she believed her sister-in-law. They also played smart by giving the other woman another concoction to induce a fake labor pain, and later handed over the second baby to the woman as her own. Olorogun's wife died with these truths, but Olorogun, who is aware and who is the actual master planner of everything, revealed the truths to Ifetobori's mother and everyone present, saying that there was a story of Ifetobori having a look-alike. He begged that Ifetobori and his mother forgives him. So, it was clear that Ifetobori is not Ochuko's ghost or reincarnate as Ejiro tried to believe, but his long-lost twin brother. Ifetobori's mother cried and never forgave Olorogun for taking her second son away from her, and the fact that she never got to meet him and would never meet him because he is dead hurt her the most. Well, after the whole revelation, Ejiro's family was able to convince her to return back to their village with them. And though they watched her closely for weeks, Ejiro no longer tried to drown herself or attempted any form of suicide, as she had experienced some sort of healing while she was with Ifetobori and his mother. She realized that though she now knows that Ifetobori was a different person from Ochuko, he was also kind and was also a good and loving man like her late husband. And gradually, she put the memory of her late husband behind her. She also began to miss Ifetobori, and Ifetobori also misses her where he was. One day, with the support of his mother, who encouraged him to go to Ejiro since he still felt deep love for her, Ifetobori traveled to Ejiro's village and looked for her. I know it was the trauma and memory of your late husband, my twin brother, whom I never met and will never meet, is what brought us together. But those days I spent with you, and each and every moment of it, I fell deeply in love with you and prayed never to lose you. I will understand you if you do not feel the same way, but I thought that I should give it a try and tell you how I feel. So please, will you allow me be part of your life? Will you spend your life with me? Not as Ochuko, but as Ifetobori. Ifetobori said and asked Ejiro. Yes, I will, Ejiro, who felt the same way and had been waiting for this for a long time, replied with a smile. And so, Ejiro and Ifetobori got married. They had children and lived happily ever after till old age. The end.